everyone. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the plans that we have for the spring. Those of you who have kind of seen a little bit of a tour of what we have so far, you know that we have a greenhouse. We also have, I believe, 2 gardens, definitely 2, potentially 3. Yeah, okay, so a third one as well. So we have a greenhouse plus 3 outdoor gardens. So we've been quite busy developing a little bit of a starting plan as to what we're going to do with the greenhouse and the 3 gardens and decide what goes where, as well as discussing the time frames and things that we're going to be planting. So Andre's going to do a little bit of an introduction in terms of what we have and how we're going to do it, and he'll explain a little bit about what seeds we have and all the different kinds of varieties that we've got.
Yeah, so when we came out here, or before we got out here, we purchased some seeds online, actually on Amazon. They're from 2 different suppliers, and we kind of got an assortment of different seeds. Everything from just your beans, carrots, onions, your basic vegetables. We didn't pick up any fruit seeds or anything like that, because from what we understand, one of the 3 gardens already has fruit trees in there, and we already have, from what I gather, a raspberry and blueberry patches. So what we did pick up were tomatoes. We picked up 2 different types of tomatoes. So we got Scotia tomatoes and Ace 55 tomatoes. We have different types of lettuces, Butter Crunch, black seeded, and ruby leaf. And we also picked up some okra, some beefsteak tomatoes. We have Black Beauty zucchinis. And what we're planning on doing with these are, Kimberly's going to go over kind of where we're going to be planting them, because everything in this colder climate, everything has a well, it's a shorter growing season just to start off with, so certain things are not going to grow. We were speaking to some locals around here, and we asked them, like, what can you grow around here? And they kind of said everything except for corn. And the couple that we were talking to, that have been here for 50 years, and they said that only 1 out of the 50 years they were able to get corn. So I do have corn seeds here. However, I don't think that they're gonna be, I'm gonna try them out, or we're gonna try them out, see how that works out, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But for some things we are gonna be doing in the greenhouse, just so that we can, like your bell peppers, we want them in the greenhouse. We also have some cantaloupes that they advise us to grow in the greenhouse as well, just so that they're not exposed to the climate. They mentioned that there is frost almost every month of the year here. Sometimes you'll get away with it. So just to be on the safe side, we're going to be loading up like tomatoes, I would say, peppers, the cantaloupes, I would say cucumbers as well, all in the raised gardens in the greenhouse. I will show you down the road once we start getting into the actual gardening of things. We also, just because it's our first year growing here, I think we're going to have a lot of trial and error based on how the sun grows, how the sun comes up, where it sets. Depending on how the water drains from everywhere, and then animals also, being that we're out here in a remote area, and we're going to have a abundance of different fruits and vegetables. We're going to have to deal with the animals that do come around here. Thankfully we have some dogs that can kind of shoo them away, and 2 out of the 3 gardens are fully fenced in with barbed wire, so that way nothing can come up. Kimberly did develop a nice plan, kind of how we're going to be moving forward with the process. Maybe you want to touch base on that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Andre actually did quite a bit of research in terms of what kind of plants we can grow and what kind of vegetables we can grow. And fruits and stuff in terms of the climate. We are in a colder climate because we are farther north. And so it's a shorter growing season. It's also a colder growing season. So we do have the greenhouse, which is a really big advantage. But as far as the climate goes, we do have to be careful with when we plant things, and there's certain times that when we can plant things and when we can't plant things, or especially if they're outside. So what we did was we went through the seeds that we had. We went through all of the different time frames that we could do. It was a lot of cross-referencing. It was a lot of rough drafts of making lists as to what was in what time frame. One of the advantages with a colder climate that we have a greenhouse for, though, is we can start things indoors. So we can actually start things inside at an earlier time frame. The time frames that we were getting in terms of when to start them kind of varied. So we found the end of March all the way up until the middle of April was when we could really start to grow things, start things indoors. So what I did was I developed a bit of a calendar here. So this is the April, this is May, this is June, July, and it goes all the way up until September, because we can keep the greenhouse going until September. And I color coded everything so we know what plants to start indoors, what plants that we can start outdoors, and what plants are better for the greenhouse to start, and then perhaps to be transferred outside. So we did I think it did a really good job with color coding. I was honestly really excited to put it together. I'm kind of an artistic person in that sense. I like everything to be color coded and organized. We cross-referenced with this here that we have as a vegetable planting chart. For a northern climate, which is kind of a little bit colder, and it gives you a really good idea, as well as the calendars that I've made here, as to when we can move things outside, when we can start things indoors, as well when and what plants we can cover, because you have to cover some of the plants once they're growing, to keep certain animals away, certain bugs, and some just don't do well if they're not covered with a little bit of a sheen.
Protects them from the frost.
Yeah,
and,
so protects them from the frost.
Keeps the moisture inside as well, so that because some of them aren't going to be started inside, some of them are straight into the ground. It'll keep the moisture to that area. It won't let the moisture evaporate, so that the seeds can germinate if you're going straight into the soil. So that's kind of a nice feature on that drawing too.
Yeah, it was really nice. It's definitely very detailed. Like I said, it was a lot of work to put it together, but this is kind of the final planning stages of what we're going to do with our garden. One more thing that I did want to discuss, and I was super excited about this. One of my students actually bought this for me before we moved out here. This is a giant book of what they say is country and wisdom know-how and how to do things. So it does contain a lot of stuff. It has a lot of recipes and general things in terms of first aid, as well as things that you can do outside, things like activities and whatnot. But it also has gardening advice, as well as different things you can grow for different climates, things that you can grow even indoors. So I took a look through some of this. It's not necessarily implemented into the planning stages quite yet, but it's really, really good to have the book here and have all that information. And I'm super grateful to the student who gave that to me. So that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting year, just based on how a big learning curve, I think.
Yeah.
Just because we're not familiar, growing back in the day, it was a different climate, a lot further south, and the growing seasons were a lot longer. Our goal with this is not only to get enough food for the summer and into the fall, but also to test certain vegetables on growing right through into the winter. Some of the videos that I've been watching, and the locals, they were saying that you can grow lettuce and kale, carrots right into the
Cucumbers
winter.
as well.
Cucumbers as well, yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see. The greenhouse isn't completely sealed. It does have certain vents in it, so we might have to cover it or add some poly in there just to keep the heat in there. One thing that is nice about starting these seeds inside right now is that we can maintain the temperature here, water them consistently, and this side of the house is all facing south, so we'll have a good sunlight coming in here just to give them that head start. And then the greenhouse is probably about 30 feet away from here, so when we need to take them out for the hardening off process, we take them out there so that they get used to the colder climate, but they're not exposed to the frost as much, or say a windstorm comes in here, torrential rainfall, or even snow, because
that happens.
Yeah, they say that we do get some snow here in June, and but they did say that the latest they've ever planted was in I think June 10th.
June 10th, yeah.
June 10th was the latest that they've ever planted. So it seems like there's still a good growing season here. I don't know. What else would there be us to touch on here? I'm really excited about trying the different types of vegetables. The one thing that you probably didn't hear in the lettuce patch is iceberg lettuce. And I'm thankful that I don't have to eat iceberg lettuce anymore from the grocery store, and that we get to try different types of lettuce, different types of peas, different types of carrots. One other thing we still need to pick up, I believe, is more peppers. So like jalapeno peppers and spicy peppers, just to make some salsas. And add some heat
sauces
to the food.
And things like
and
that.
Sauces like that. Make your own sriracha sauce. And then once we get in or start harvesting stuff, we're gonna be looking at fermentation and preserving food with by fermenting them and not canning them. From the research we've been doing, is it's a lot more beneficial for your gut health, and being that we're kind of on this journey, why not keep on rolling with it and see what the outcome is. So I think we've covered everything. I'm gonna leave a link down in the description down there on the seeds. Some of the one brand of seed we did get, they actually tell you here, it doesn't tell you what climate that you can grow them in, but they kind of give you a description on the back. Like for this zucchini right here, they'll tell you the height of them, the spacing that you need for the zucchinis. What else here? The maturity date, so these ones will be done in 50 days. The soil type, well drained, and the sun, full sun, and germination time. And the germination, from what I saw on the packages, was anywhere from 85 to 100%. So I'll take those percentages any days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both really excited. It's definitely a learning curve. As Andre said, it's going to be an interesting first year. I myself don't have much experience gardening. He does, but not necessarily in this climate. So we'll see what happens, but we're super excited to try it out. This is one of those things that we've really been looking forward to in terms of becoming more self-sufficient, making our own food, growing our own food, and being able to be self-sufficient and live off the land. That's really what our goal was with this whole journey in the first place. That's one of our biggest things. So we're really looking forward to starting up vegetables and fruits. And when the 2 feet of snow is gone, then it's certainly going to be interesting to see what's underneath with how the gardens are in shape and stuff.
That's right. Yeah. And another thing is also we're going to be doing our own composting too, so we don't actually have to go and get compost anywhere. The previous owner made their own compost barrel here that you kind of throw in what you need, spin it around, and the next year you use it up. So
that's just so convenient.
That's right. And watering also, from what we understand, we have a tap outside that we can run a hose, and being that's a steep hill down, the water pressure just off by turning on the tap will engage a sprinkler, so we'll have no problem with the watering as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting on like where everything grows, positioning everything, because we do also have sunflowers here. We're going to give those a try. So you're going to want to keep, like, for sunflowers, you want to make sure that they're on the northern part of the garden, so that when the sun hits, it's not covering the lower growing vegetables, and allowing those lower growing vegetables to get as much sunlight. You want to make sure that the sunflowers are on the northern part of the garden. So little things like that you want to keep in mind when growing these things. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be fun. Yeah. So we'll be posting more updates right from putting the seeds into the cups and starting them in here, and you'll probably see a little bit of a disaster of this living room because we're going to have so many things starting. But yeah, if anyone's got some tips, tricks, or
questions, comments
that they would like to leave in the comments, any experience on growing in colder climates, feel free to
contribute. We'd be happy to hear.
That's right.
I think that's it for us for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next video.
Chat soon.